Hello everyone, welcome back to Bow and Arrow Tarot. Today we are doing Leo Love reading for November. Alright, my lovely Leos. Aries was just premiered. Incredible reading for Aries. So let's just see what this November holds for you. We're going to get right into a Celtic cross spread for you, Leo. And this month, November and December, I will be doing full moon and new moon readings. We have a lot of really great astrological aspects coming up over the next couple of months for the end of 2019. And it really does promise to be a great ending to the year. So let's just see exactly what's going on with you, Leo. Straight out the gate, we have Justice, covered by a Tower moment. Wow. Aries just had a Tower moment coming out of November as well, but let's get right into it. 7 of Cups, again showing up, and 10 of Pentacles. 3 of Swords, and the High Priestess. Wow. All right. You come into the month, Emperor energy. You're faced with Sun energy coming back, and you have a Page of Wands and a 10 of Cups for your outcome. Page of Wands, of course, is in a position of your hopes and dreams for the month, or your fears, whatever way it presents itself. Wow. And at the bottom of the deck, Leo, we have 2 of Swords. Well, what can I say? If you are cross-watching the other fire signs, you will see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards in common with the Aries reading. And so let's get right into it, my lovely Leos. This promises to be a month of awakenings, that's for sure. All right, so if I can get my card up, let's get Justice right out, covered by the Tower moment. Well, Justice comes in. There's been things that have been out of balance. You know that they've been out of balance, right? We're talking about, could very well be that for some of you, you have been waiting for a judgment to come in that is going to affect your love life. This is, of course, a love reading for Justice to be at the center of it. We're talking about either some of you waiting for a official decision. You may be waiting for a divorce decree, a separation decree. You may be awaiting some kind of official judgment to help bring a situation back into balance. In any case, right now it is out of balance and it is screaming to be brought back in balance. And then we're covered with a Tower moment. So this month promises to be, I would almost say this is, if we're talking about animal spirits, this would be Panther energy coming in. Very hard and fast, very chaotic, but promises to kind of throw everything up in the air, and when the dust settles, everything is where it should be, yes. But yes, the way things become imbalanced this month is definitely through a Tower moment. So some of the energy, of course, right now, covering the month, just, or let's say behind the scenes, you know, underlying everything in the month would, of course, be this 2 of Swords, or right behind it, look, we have the 10 of Swords. But 2 of Swords talks about having to make a decision. Again, this was something that was very prominent in the Aries reading. A feeling of having to choose, of having to make a decision, but simply being unwilling or unable to make the decision, right? 2 of Swords also talks about balance, finding balance oftentimes when you can't make a decision. And I think part of this Tower moment coming in is because you are in this kind of, this energy is pervading everything. This inability to kind of move forward because you're really, in a lot of ways, stuck. But again, 2 of Swords generally talks about realizing that balance is what is at play. Now, in the front of your mind, you are, of course, having a fairy tale idea. You're really wishing for the best. 7 of Cups talks about really hoping and dreaming for the best despite all of the other information to the contrary, right? 7 of Cups often talks about being, in a way, having an illusion about what the relationship is really about, right? When in truth, there is no sort of properties that would warrant this kind of image. This is very pie in the sky. This is very wishful thinking, is what we talk about with Seven of Cups. You know, just being very wishful in the face of things just generally not being anywhere near this, right? Sometimes this can even be unrealistic expectations, and so it makes perfect sense again that you would have a tower moment, because generally when our when our our unrealistic expectations sort of meet up against reality, a lot of times a tower moment will happen, right? Because a tower moment is all about realizing that everything you believed in, everything you thought was true or right about life or people or a particular situation is in fact wrong. And it's the divine coming in. Oftentimes it's events coming in out of your control that make you realize that what you've been holding on to is not at all realistic, right? So here at Ten of Pentacles, of course, we're really talking about in the back of your mind, you're really desiring stability, right? And I think part of this idea that you're having, Leo, with this relationship is that you really want it to work out, because this particular relationship may bring with it some stability, it may bring with it some financial stability, right? And you really want it to be, you know, it's that feeling of like, yeah, you found somebody perhaps that, you know, you can have a good life with, right? They can help you realize your dreams. You can help, you know, you can be in the type of relationship that you yearn for with them. It could even be, you know, sometimes, you know, when we're used to being with people who don't necessarily bring a lot to the table, it's like you've met somebody, it's like, oh, you know, you want this to work out. You want this to be right, because it brings with it things that perhaps you never had with other relationships, right? It's hard to find people who are responsible, you know what I'm saying? And so certainly when you come together with somebody, especially when they bring with them a certain amount of stability, not having to worry about bills and things of that nature. And I'm being careful with my words, because I'm not saying that this is a gold digging sort of scenario. It's a type of scenario like, wow, you know, we work together, we care about each other. This could be a lovely relationship, and on top of it, it won't have to be a constant struggle. Yet things are still out of balance. And I think a lot of this desire for stability is what's driving you to really hope that this is going to work out. But yet, in the back of your mind, I'm going to say again, things are very much out of balance, and you really know that there is some trouble brewing, right? Excuse me, that things aren't exactly where they should be. This waiting for balancing is starting to get to a stage where you're starting to realize that, you know, if I'm waiting for so long for it to come in the way it should, and for it to be so out of balance now, you know, I think for some of you, this tower moment comes in to really shake you up and make you realize that, you know, although this could be a great connection, and yeah, you know, for once it's you know, perhaps if you had this connection, it would perhaps be the type of connection where you both can really uplift each other and be prosperous together. There's still something wrong, because of course you come in with a third party energy, and that is the reason for the source of some of your doubt, right? You know, this is the tower moment that comes in, because it's like, it almost feels as though you were willing to sort of, you know, hope for the best with the Seven of Cups. You had this really, you know, you knew things weren't quite right, but still you were thinking of this sort of fairy tale connection, right? But then the bomb kind of drops where you come right into the month, right? Right into the beginning of the month, the Three of Swords energy, and you begin to realize that perhaps some of what is going on here, and perhaps why this balance can't come into the relationship, is because someone is not being 100% honest. Now, one of the reasons this is called the three, this is often interpreted as three-party energy or cheating energy, is because 3 is the number for bonding and loyalty. And with Three of Swords, we talk about a betrayal of that trust, a betrayal of loyalty, a dishonest communication when it comes to communication of the heart. And so one of the most grotesque examples of that is, of course, cheating on someone. But it's not just that Three of Swords talks about cheating per se. That is just a symptom of a deeper energy. The deeper energy is the fact that somebody has been lying. Their communication with you about their feelings has been untruthful, right? They haven't really been honest with you. And so it's a heartbreak, but it's also a sort of that type of heartbreak that hurts because it feels as though somebody has played you for a fool, somebody has insulted your intelligence, right? And so it's also kind of a wounding to the pride, right? It's a wounding to the heart as well in that way. It's not just heartbreak because somebody has cheated on you, but all of that comes with it, right? And so you come into the month with very real sort of, I want to say, not necessarily evidence yet, right? But it begins to show on the surface. Signs begin to come in, and you begin to realize why this picture perfect idea really hasn't been working out. And again, in the back of your mind, it's this sort of 10 of Pentacles, this wishing to have, the perfect union, the union that brings with it a happy home, good prosperity, and a lot of love. And yet, this happens. High Priestess comes in, and your intuition begins to run very high. You begin to, I'm going to say you start to really go into all of the things that were sort of nagging at your back of your head, right? Like I said, you knew, Leo, a lot of you knew that this was very much so wishful thinking to a certain degree. And so after this Three of Swords, the rest of the month, you are just well into your High Priestess in a sense that all your spidey senses are on 11, and you really follow your intuition because you realize that really your intuition has been telling you something has been wrong for quite some time. Certainly when we have a Tower moment coming in, it's always, it's divine evidence coming in that we just didn't have the whole picture right. Now, the way that you approach the month is interesting. You certainly come in very, very much authority. You come in as the Emperor. Again, I was going to say very much an authority, very much the leader, but also, again, wanting stability. More than anything, you crave stability. And you want to have, you want to be in charge in a way, right? You don't want to be surprised. You don't want to be sort of taken for a fool, right? So you really kind of, this is Aries energy, the Emperor, right? And of course, the Sun resonates with Leo energy also. The 8 is Leo, but Sun can be associated with Leo as well. And so it's quite interesting that you come into the month with this Emperor energy, like, you really just double down on taking control of your love life, right? Taking control, taking authority. I want to say for some of you, you put people in their place. You tell them about themselves. You really meet everything kind of head on, but you're very, very strong about it. And more than anything, for some of you who wake up to this kind of possible deception, I want to say, in a relationship, and waking up to why the balance isn't coming in and everything that you've been waiting for. I'm going to say for some of you, you may have been dealing with somebody who was promising you that they were going to get whatever judgment or decision or do whatever this justice card required for them to be with you, but then they never did it, right? All of these types of things. I want to say that almost meeting that head on, Leo, is a feeling of wanting to preserve what stability you've already worked for, right? So some of you Leos have a certain amount of stability already on your own. In fact, all Leos, Leos are lions, right? You have your own stability, your own sense of strength. And so what I'm saying is that for some of you, part of this attitude from the Emperor is because you want to maintain the stability that you've worked for. You don't want this Three of Swords and this Tower moment to really shake everything apart, right? There are other areas in your life that you've worked very hard to stabilize. It could be your career, it could be family life, whatever. It could be some other avenue in your life where you're very much in charge, and you've worked very hard for your position, right? And for the stability and the firmament, I want to say, the foundation, right? And you don't want all of that to be lost in this Tower moment. So you kind of double down. You're very obstinate. You certainly, and again, like I was saying with the Aries reading, all of this certainly doesn't bring you to your knees. I want to say it's really interesting, even for some of you who wake up to this Tower moment and possibly this deceptive energy here where somebody's been lying about their intentions. You're not crying about it, right? You're very much like, oh, well, you know what? I'm going to move forward. I'm going to move forward because I am so close to achieving my own personal goals that I'm not going to let this upset me. Sun comes in, and that meets you, Leo, because the sun comes in and brings rewards and clarity. And I think the decision that you make to put yourself first, certainly with this Emperor energy, really puts you in a beautiful position to get away, just like Aries did in their reading, to get away from what could be a really toxic situation. And what happens, you come into something very new and a beautiful love connection, because Page of Wands comes in. Now, this is really your hope. Your hope is really to be able to start something new with a sense of freedom and creative freedom. You want to feel young again. And I think for some of you, this relationship, you weren't really feeling young anyway. You know, you were already getting inklings of it not being really what you wanted. You already knew in the back of your head that you were dealing with someone who was probably, to a certain degree, not being completely forthright, right? High Priestess certainly rounds out the end of the month with a high level of intuitive ability and self-confidence. And so it's like, yeah, but you wake up and you realize it's not what I wanted anyway. And so this is not a time to cry over these things, right? You don't feel like, you know, heartbroken per se. Again, I want to say, just like with Aries, you feel almost relieved because you feel free to follow your heart's desire. And the outcome, of course, is the Ten of Cups. And Ten of Cups energy was also resonating with the Aries reading in terms of the outcome, making way for a true love connection. That here we have Ten of Pentacles, Ten of Cups, 2 tens, completion. You do find your completion, Leo. You do. In November, you absolutely find your completion. But again, I want to say, just like with Aries, it's a case of sweeping away all of this toxicity to make room for it. All right, guys, I'm just going to pull a couple of Thoth cards like I did with the other fire sign reading. And then after this, we'll be getting into Sagittarius, and then we'll be getting into the water signs. Just a few clarity cards for our lovely Leos for this November. Again, another heavy reading. A heavy reading of sort of saving yourself from the wrong path. Saving yourself from going down a path that promises really just to be unhappy and not really what you wanted. And again, it's really a great transformative reading, but because you come out of this much more open to bring in what you truly desire. There's your Eight of Pentacles, Hermit, Hierophant, and your Aeon. Bottom of the deck we have Prince of Discs. All right. Prince of Discs is the same in the Thoth deck as we would say the Knight of Discs in the traditional deck. So, Seven of Cups, Eight of Pentacles, that's quite interesting. Yeah, I mean, a lot of you have really been knuckling down to work. Part of this this Seven of Cups, this wishful thinking for the relationship, you have really been doing your part. And again, I think this goes back to the stability that you've been working for, that you want to hold on to. A lot of you Leos have in your own personal life, you've been knuckling down to a particular task, restricting yourself, disciplining yourself, excuse me, being very prudent. Pentacles is the card for prudence, but it's also the card, another 8, for restricting yourself and putting boundaries in place so that you can accomplish something that requires a lot of work. And so you've been putting the work in, and I want to say again, Leo, remember that a lot of you Leos have really been working in your personal lives towards a particular objective or a goal, and it is important to carry on with that despite this. And like I said, you will, because part of the rewards that you bring in with the sun very much comes in your personal sort of path towards your personal goals. I want to say, like, if you're running a business or you're doing something creative, you're an artist, you have a particular job or a career path, that side of your life is where a lot of abundance and self-confidence is going to come in, just in time for you to let go of this toxic relationship, which would probably drain you anyway. 10 of Pentacles and a Hermit. So I think for some of you, you really wake up to the fact also that, yes, you know, this idea of having stability and having maybe an extra level of abundance or financial status, you know, it's really, is it worth it? And I think with the Hermit energy coming in, you really reevaluate this, right? You wake up to the fact that, yeah, perhaps I am picking an easier path, or what seems to be an easier path, because I feel like the support is going to come in. But I need to really go within inside myself and think about, is this what I truly desire? Is this what's going to make a good connection? Is having a level of financial stability worth, right? Worth with all of this wishful thinking? Right, and a lot of this is going to, I think, Leo, a lot of you are going to get come out of this in terms of really kind of reevaluating yourself and you know, what you're willing to put up with, and what's really truly important. And it may indeed come out that it's time to walk the path alone, because of course wishful thinking is not going to bring a healthy connection, and if it's not healthy. Hierophant and 3 of Swords. So Hierophant certainly talks about commitment, right? And again, it could very well be that when you guys, you and your lover, or whatever relationship you're in that presents with this 3 of Swords, I'm going to say for some of you, realizing that there's been deception comes out of a conversation about commitment. Could very well be, I'm going to say for some of you, as you try to ramp up your commitment in a particular relationship, as you try to get that balance, I want to say for you, the balance would be a higher level of commitment, right? It's that brings out what's really going on, right? It's like when you talk to somebody you've been involved with, and it's like you start to talk about moving in, or you start to talk about your life together, and then all of a sudden, this is when they start to show signs of actually not being that committed, of actually, and they start, and if they have been lying to you or cheating or whatever, this is when the cracks start to come in, right? So I want to say for some of you, this 3 of Swords, or the evidence, or the beginning evidence of it, begins to come in as you have this conversation about taking your relationship to the next step. And of course, Aeon showed up for the Aries reading also, and Judgment and High Priestess. So for some of you, you really realize that you've been seeing the scenario from only one side. Perhaps you begin to see this dynamic from more than one side. You begin to understand more of what's going on, and perhaps you begin to understand more of why you wanted this dynamic so much, and also why perhaps you don't need it, right? Again, this is a real wake-up call, a real lesson this month in love, but it ends with a 10 of Cups. So again, this is a reading for a Leo who's involved in a situation that is not going to be what you expected it to be. It's not going to come into balance the way you wanted it to come in. You may be waiting for a decision that doesn't come through, or that was never going to come through, right? And getting rid of this to make way for a true connection. I'm going to say for a lot of you, I wouldn't be surprised if the December readings were all about meeting your soulmate, meeting a deeper connection, because it seems so far that November is all about clearing out toxicity and relationships that really aren't for you. Prince of Discs, Knight, or otherwise known as the Knight of Discs, is at the bottom of the deck. So here we're talking about, again, like I said, your goal, your personal goal, right? Your, I want to say career, financial, abundance goals are doubling down. You're going after them. It's something that you're working very hard for, and they will indeed come in. And I want to say a lot of Leos are resonating with really good career, financial, abundant, their own personal abundance, right? That they've worked very hard for. And this Ten of Pentacles that for some of you, perhaps you thought you could only get through working in combination with somebody else in a relationship, right? You realize that you're the one who's going to be bringing in this abundance. You know, this is going to come anyway because you're working so hard on your own life path. I think for some of you, you may have been selling yourself a bit short. But whatever the case may be, you certainly clear out this sort of, and there's no indication here that this individual, I mean, this is all about the way you see this relationship, because the other person is not even showing up. Their energy doesn't even show up here. This is, except for in the Three of Swords. But that's only because you realize that they've been deceptive. This is very much about you shifting your focus and the way you see a particular relationship. All right, guys, I'm going to call it. This is your November Leo love reading. I hope it resonated with you. If it did, please like, subscribe, and share. Comment below. All of that stuff helps my channel to grow. Hit the bell for notifications. I premiere all my videos. And I sometimes have last-minute live streams or question-and-answer sessions. So if you hit that notification button, you will know when all of my videos are up. But for right now, Leo, have a wonderful November, all right? And I'll see you middle of November for the mid-month love check-in. Bye-bye now.